Hello everyone, Dr. Mandell here. If you're over 60, there is one thing your body fights every single day: muscle loss, also known as sarcopenia. And if you don't stop it, it affects your balance, your posture, your energy, and even your independence. But here's the good news. There is a natural, simple add-in that you can put right into your morning coffee, and it can help slow muscle breakdown, support healthy blood flow, reduce inflammation, and even boost your mood. Today we're talking about cacao versus cocoa, and which one is the best add-in to protect your muscles as you age. Let's break this down simply and scientifically, so you know exactly what to use, why it works, and how to use it every day. Every morning, as you open your eyes, your muscles wake up with you, but not in the same condition they were years ago. After age 60, something silent begins happening inside the body. Blood vessels that once carried oxygen freely to your muscles start narrowing, circulation slows, and your muscles, hungry for nutrients, begin starving in slow motion. Scientists call this age-related vascular decline, and it is one of the biggest reasons older adults lose strength, balance, and mobility. But what if something as simple, as natural, and as ancient as raw cacao could help reopen those pathways, feeding your muscles the lifeline they desperately need? In the last decade, researchers around the world have been stunned by the effects of cacao's flavonols, powerful plant compounds that act like microscopic protectors inside your blood vessels. When flavonols enter your body, they trigger the release of nitric oxide, a molecule so important that scientists awarded a Nobel Prize for its discovery. Nitric oxide allows your arteries to relax, widen, and carry blood more efficiently to every muscle fiber you have. And here's the shocking part. After age 60, the body's natural nitric oxide production can drop by more than 75%. That means your muscles are constantly working with less oxygen, less nutrition, and less support than they need. This is why simple activities like climbing stairs, carrying groceries, or even standing up from a chair can suddenly feel harder than they used to. But cacao changes that picture. In one landmark study, older adults who consumed cacao flavonols experienced significantly improved blood flow in just hours. Another study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that cacao increased vasodilation, a widening of the arteries, by up to 30%, even in seniors. Imagine that, a natural food, opening your blood vessels, improving circulation, and delivering life back to the muscles that support your strength and independence. When blood flow increases, everything changes. Your muscles receive more oxygen, allowing them to produce more energy. Lactic acid, the substance that causes soreness and weakness, flushes out more quickly. Damaged fibers repair faster, and everyday movement begins to feel smoother, lighter, and easier. Most people don't realize that poor circulation is one of the earliest signs of muscle decline. You don't feel it at first. It starts as mild stiffness, a little heaviness in the legs, a fatigue that comes quicker than it used to. But over time, that lack of blood flow leads to rapid muscle breakdown, sarcopenia, the condition that affects nearly 50% of adults over 60. Yet the same muscles losing strength every year could be receiving powerful support from one of nature's richest sources of vascular nourishment, raw cacao. And this is not the highly processed cocoa most people use in baking. This is raw, unheated cacao, the pure form that retains its full flavonol content. Flavonols that protect your arteries from oxidative stress. Flavonols that enhance endothelial function, the ability of your blood vessel walls to expand and contract. Flavonols that act like natural guardians, keeping your circulation youthful even as you age. Picture each blood vessel as a highway. When you're young, the lanes are wide, smooth, and open. But as decades pass, inflammation, oxidative stress, and plaque buildup begin shrinking those lanes. Traffic slows to a crawl, and your muscles, especially the ones in your legs, pay the price. Cacao is like adding fresh lanes to that highway. It doesn't do it overnight, but with consistent intake, the effects compound. More pathways open, more blood flows, more oxygen nourishes your tissues. And for someone over 60, improved circulation can mean the difference between independence and limitation. In one study, adults with poor circulation who consumed cacao saw measurable increases in walking distance, stamina, and overall mobility. The blood vessels simply opened, allowing more life to reach their muscles. And researchers reported something even more remarkable. Those improvements continued as long as cacao intake remained consistent. In other words, cacao doesn't just give a momentary boost. It teaches your vessels how to function better over time. But here is the part most people never hear. Poor circulation doesn't just weaken muscles, it starves your nerves, slows your metabolism, increases inflammation, and even accelerates cognitive decline. That's why restoring blood flow is not just a health tip, it's a lifeline to your entire body. And cacao has one more secret. Inside every teaspoon lies theobromine, a natural compound that works alongside flavonols to stimulate heart function gently and support smoother, more rhythmic blood flow. Unlike caffeine, theobromine's effects are stable, long-lasting, and heart-friendly. It helps your vessels stay open without causing spikes or jitters. That's why so many people feel a calm, steady energy after consuming cacao, a feeling that researchers now attribute to improved circulation to both muscles and the brain. And when you combine cacao with something warm, like your morning coffee, absorption increases. The flavonols reach your bloodstream faster. Nitric oxide rises quickly. Circulation improves within minutes. Imagine starting your day with a simple habit that begins nourishing your muscles before you take your first step. Imagine walking with more confidence, climbing stairs with more stability, and feeling your legs carry you with the strength they once had. This isn't magic. This is science. This is physiology. This is what happens when blood flows the way nature intended. Most importantly, cacao gives older adults something that medications rarely offer: a natural, gentle, food-based approach to supporting circulation. No extreme side effects, no synthetic chemicals, just pure vascular nourishment from a plant used for more than 3,000 years. And in a world where muscle loss steals independence from millions of seniors, anything that improves blood flow is more than a supplement. It's a strategy for protecting your life, your energy, and your mobility. So every time you stir a spoonful of raw cacao into your coffee, you're not just adding flavor. You're supporting the vessels that feed your muscles. You're breathing life into tissues that need oxygen. You're giving your body the power to stay strong, active, and capable. Even in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, one small addition, one daily habit. One powerful tool to help your muscles stay alive, functional, and resilient. That is the power of cacao. Every day, inside your muscles, a silent war is taking place. You don't see it. You don't feel it at first. But if you're over 60, this war is happening faster and more aggressively than ever before. It's the slow, steady rise of inflammation, an internal fire that weakens your strength, steals your mobility, and ages your muscles from the inside out. Scientists call it inflammaging, and they've discovered that it accelerates muscle loss, stiffens your joints, slows recovery, and makes even simple movements feel heavier than they should. But here's the part that will shock you. Chronic muscle inflammation begins decades before you ever notice a single symptom. And by the time you feel soreness that lingers, tightness that won't loosen, or fatigue that won't leave your legs, the inflammation has already been damaging your muscle fibers for years. Yet in the middle of this internal fire, nature has given us one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory weapons ever discovered: raw cacao. Not the sweetened cocoa powder and hot chocolate, not the processed baking cocoa stripped of nutrients, but raw, unheated cacao, rich in polyphenols that researchers say can tame inflammation more effectively than many foods on the planet. In study after study, cacao's natural compounds have been shown to reduce CRP, C-reactive protein, a key inflammation marker linked to muscle weakness, heart disease, and rapid aging. Researchers found that older adults who consumed cacao regularly experienced significant reductions in oxidative stress, the exact stress that eats away at muscle fibers and slows healing. But the question is, why does cacao work so powerfully on inflammation? The answer lies in a group of compounds called flavonols. These molecules are so potent that scientists have compared their antioxidant capacity to some of the strongest plant-based compounds ever tested. When flavonols enter your bloodstream, they don't just float around aimlessly. They seek out the inflammatory molecules that damage your tissues. They neutralize free radicals that attack your muscle cells daily. They interrupt inflammatory pathways that cause soreness, stiffness, and swelling. And they help activate your body's own defense system, the NRF2 pathway, which turns on internal antioxidant enzymes. This means cacao doesn't just fight inflammation, it teaches your body to defend itself. And here's something even more powerful. Inflammation is one of the #1 triggers of sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss that affects nearly half of adults over 60. Researchers have discovered that chronic inflammation directly interferes with muscle protein synthesis, the process that builds and repairs muscle. When inflammation rises, your ability to maintain muscle strength collapses. And that's why foods like raw cacao are more than nutritional add-ins. They are protective tools for your muscle survival. Think about this. Every time you feel persistent soreness in your thighs, that's inflammation. Every time your knees feel stiff when you stand after sitting, that's inflammation. Every time you experience muscle fatigue that comes sooner than it used to, that's inflammation. And raw cacao contains compounds that directly target the causes of these sensations. One study showed that cacao polyphenols reduce NF-kappa B, the master molecule of inflammation, so significant that researchers describe it as the on switch for inflammatory damage. When NF-kappa B is active, inflammation spreads throughout the body like a signal flare. But cacao helps quiet this signal before it harms your muscles, and the benefits go deeper. Cacao contains theobromine, a natural compound that works hand in hand with flavonols to reduce muscle inflammation gently and consistently. Theobromine has been shown to relax smooth muscle tissue, reduce inflammation in blood vessels, and support oxygen delivery, all essential for reducing muscular stress. When blood vessels relax, your muscles receive nutrients more efficiently, which accelerates healing. When inflammation decreases, your recovery time shortens, and your strength returns more quickly. And when oxidative stress is neutralized, your muscle fibers stay healthier, longer. Imagine your muscles as a city. Inflammation is like smoke from 1,000 fires filling the streets. It slows movement. It blocks signals. It weakens every structure it touches. And cacao is like an elite team of firefighters arriving with precision tools, not to mask the smoke, but to extinguish the flames at their source. But here's the part most people never hear. Muscle inflammation doesn't just come from injuries or overuse. It comes from stress, poor sleep, blood sugar imbalances, lack of nutrients, hidden infections, and even environmental toxins. As you age, your body becomes less efficient at dealing with these triggers. That's why even mild inflammation builds up faster after 60. And this is where cacao becomes so important. Its polyphenols reduce inflammatory cytokines, molecules that act like gasoline thrown onto a fire. They improve mitochondrial function, the energy factories inside your muscle cells. They reduce muscle cell damage caused by oxidative stress. And they help restore balance to your immune system, which is often responsible for chronic inflammation in aging adults. In fact, some researchers now believe that cacao's anti-inflammatory power is one of the reasons it has been linked to improved endurance, faster recovery, and even better mobility in older populations. When inflammation goes down, movement becomes easier. When muscle fibers repair faster, strength returns. When oxidative stress is lowered, aging slows. And this isn't just about feeling better, it's about living better. It's about walking without discomfort, climbing stairs without pain, lifting groceries with ease, bending, stretching, standing, moving, without the stiffness that steals life from your muscles. One simple habit, just 1 teaspoon of raw cacao in your morning coffee, can begin reducing the inflammatory burden your muscles face every day. And here's something remarkable. Cacao's anti-inflammatory effects are cumulative. The longer you use it, the more protection it provides. Day after day, week after week, the damage slows, the recovery improves, and the muscles rebuild. Cacao isn't a trend. It's not a supplement fad. It's one of the most scientifically supported anti-inflammatory foods ever discovered. And for someone over 60 whose muscles are quietly fighting inflammation every moment of every day, this ancient plant offers something priceless: relief, repair, and resilience from the inside out. Every sip of cacao-infused coffee becomes an act of healing. Every morning becomes a moment of renewal. Every day becomes a chance for your muscles to grow stronger, not weaker. This is the power of cacao. This is what happens when you give your muscles the anti-inflammatory support they've been waiting for. There is a molecule inside your body so powerful, so essential, so deeply connected to your ability to stay strong, mobile, and independent, that when scientists discovered it, they won a Nobel Prize. This molecule is nitric oxide, often called the miracle molecule, because without it, your muscles cannot function the way they were designed to. But here is the truth very few people over 60 ever hear. As you age, your body's natural nitric oxide production doesn't just decline, it collapses. By the time you hit your mid-60s, you may be producing 75% less nitric oxide than you did in your 20s. And that sudden drop affects everything: your stamina, your balance, your walking speed, your strength, your blood flow, your recovery, your energy, and your ability to perform the simplest physical tasks. Without nitric oxide, your blood vessels stiffen and narrow, oxygen moves slower, nutrients struggle to reach your muscles, and the very tissues that keep you upright begin to weaken. This is one of the hidden reasons older adults lose muscle mass so quickly, and why something as simple as climbing stairs or rising from a chair suddenly feels harder. But here's the stunning twist in this story. Raw cacao, an ancient food used for thousands of years, contains natural compounds that trigger your body to start producing more nitric oxide again. Not artificially, not temporarily, but biologically, from within. And researchers have been astonished by how powerful cacao is at restoring nitric oxide in older adults. In multiple studies, the flavanols in cacao significantly increased nitric oxide production in the bloodstream, leading to better circulation, better muscle oxygenation, and better physical performance in people over 60. Imagine for a moment what that means. It means that every time you consume raw cacao, you're sending a message to your blood vessels: open up, relax. Carry more life to the muscles that carry you. Nitric oxide acts like a key, unlocking your arteries so blood can flow freely. And when blood flows, your muscles live. When blood stagnates, your muscles slowly die. That is the brutal biology of aging, but cacao changes this equation. Once flavanols reach your endothelial cells, the cells lining your blood vessels, they stimulate an enzyme known as ENOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase. This enzyme is what produces nitric oxide in your body. The more active ENOS becomes, the more nitric oxide you release. And the more nitric oxide you release, the more your muscles awaken. In one clinical study, older adults given high flavanol cacao experienced dramatic increases in nitric oxide-mediated vasodilation. In simple terms, their arteries opened wider, their circulation improved, their muscles received more oxygen, and their ability to move improved, with measurable increases in endurance and physical performance. But there's an even deeper layer to this. Nitric oxide is not just about circulation. It is also a direct protector of muscle tissue. When nitric oxide levels drop, muscle fibers become more vulnerable to damage. They repair more slowly, they fatigue more easily, and they begin shrinking at a faster rate. This is why low nitric oxide is closely linked to sarcopenia, the muscle-wasting condition that affects so many people over 60. But cacao's flavanols stimulate muscle protective pathways, reducing oxidative stress and keeping muscle cells healthier, stronger, and more resistant to breakdown. And here's something most people never hear. Nitric oxide is not stored in the body. You have to produce it continuously. That means your muscles depend on your diet every single day to keep nitric oxide levels high enough to support strength and mobility. 1 teaspoon of raw cacao becomes more than flavor. It becomes fuel for your circulation and nourishment for your muscles. But the science goes even deeper. Nitric oxide doesn't just supply oxygen to the muscles, it allows them to use that oxygen more efficiently. The more nitric oxide your body produces, the more energy your muscle cells can create. It's like flipping a switch inside your tissues, allowing them to burn fuel cleaner, faster, and with less waste. And this is where people over 60 feel the difference. They feel it in the first few steps after standing up. They feel it in the power of each stride when walking. They feel it in the ease of lifting objects, bending, stretching, and moving through daily life. Their muscles are no longer starving. They are fed. They are supported. They are alive. And cacao has another secret weapon, theobromine. This naturally occurring compound works alongside nitric oxide to support vascular relaxation, helping your arteries remain open for longer periods. The result is a more sustained circulation boost, longer-lasting muscle oxygenation, and a smoother, more consistent feeling of physical strength. In one fascinating study, participants consuming cacao flavanols saw nitric oxide levels rise so rapidly that measurable improvements in blood vessel function occurred within 2 hours. That means your morning coffee with cacao could literally improve the physical strength you feel throughout your day. But let's step back and look at the bigger picture. When nitric oxide rises, several things happen simultaneously. Your blood pressure stabilizes, your heart works more efficiently, your inflammation drops, your recovery speeds up, and your muscles gain new life. And when all of those systems align, something remarkable happens. You feel younger, not emotionally, physically, because your muscles finally receive what they have been missing for years. And here is the most compelling part of all. Researchers have discovered that cacao flavanols can actually restore nitric oxide responsiveness in older adults. This means that your blood vessels, which become less reactive with age, can regain some of their youthful function. In essence, cacao doesn't just boost nitric oxide, it helps your body remember how to make nitric oxide again. This is not a temporary trick. This is a long-term restoration of one of the most important biological processes for healthy aging. Imagine your arteries becoming more responsive. Imagine your muscles receiving a steady flow of oxygen. Imagine walking without fatigue, moving without heaviness, and living without the silent decline that steals strength from millions of seniors every year. That is the potential locked inside raw cacao. Every teaspoon is a signal to your body. Open the vessels, feed the muscles, strengthen the tissue, protect the structure that holds you up. And every day you use it, you are giving your muscles one more reason to stay strong, one more reason to resist aging, one more reason to serve you for decades to come. This is more than nutrition. This is vascular engineering through natural plant compounds. This is the biology of aging being rewritten. This is the power of nitric oxide, awakened and amplified by the ancient strength of cacao.